Well, me and Miss Beckley had separated. We were co-parenting. We were still good friends.
That's not true. We had sex, unprotected.
It wasn't baby-making sex. It was angry sex.
It's not about baby-making sex. Sex is sex.
It was angry sex.
Sex is sex. Whether it's baby-making, love-making, hate-making, sex is sex, and she's still here as a baby.
This was some months later when I got to my apartment. I unlocked the door with the key. So at that point, I had a sliding walk-in closet. I heard my closet door slide open. When I got inside, I went right to the closet, opened the door. She standing up there naked, had my man in my house.
Get ready, because this case brings drama right out of the gate. Judge Lake introduces Beckley versus Allen, a paternity case packed with tension. Ms. Beckley says Mr. Allen fathered her 1-year-old daughter, Idale, but he insists she's wrong. To make matters worse, it's straining his relationship with his fiancée.
Ms. Beckley, you are in court today to prove Mr. Allen is the biological father of your 1-year-old daughter, Idale Beckley.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say Mr. Allen has only seen his daughter one time since she has been born, and you want him to take responsibility starting today.
Ms. Beckley breaks down, accusing Mr. Allen of neglecting Idale while supporting their other kids. She's been handling everything alone and says it's not fair to their daughter. Her emotional plea earns sympathy, but Mr. Allen doesn't budge. What he says next will have everyone's jaw drop.
I'm very angry, very frustrated. He's been neglecting her from day one, since I got pregnant with her. I'm just sick of it, and I just want him to take responsibility of something we both made. It makes me feel angry. She's without a father. It's terrible that she has to go through that, and I'm raising her on my own. I just feel like you should be a dad to her, because you are her father.
Mr. Allen shares his doubts, claiming their rocky relationship makes Idale's paternity questionable. He says she told him about the pregnancy too soon after they had angry, intimate violence, which he finds suspicious. When Ms. Beckley counters with receipts, the drama reaches a boiling point.
The time of conception made me have strong doubts, that the child is not mine. Well, me and Miss Beckley had separated. We were co-parenting. We were still good friends.
That's not true. We had sex, unprotected.
It wasn't baby-making sex. It was angry sex.
It's not about baby-making sex. Sex is sex.
It was angry sex.
Sex is sex. Whether it's baby-making, love-making, hate-making, sex is sex, and she's still here as a baby.
Ms. Beckley reveals Mr. Allen signed their older kids' birth certificates, but not Idale's. She highlights his absence during her emergency C-section and pregnancy. Mr. Allen's weak defense only fuels the tension, and the arguing escalates from there.
He signed Germany's and Xavier's birth certificate. Hers is not signed.
So the first one is for Germany, Jacqueline, and Allen. Father's name's there. Second one, Xavier, Dantes, Tyrell, Jerome, Allen. Father's name is there. Third one, Italy, Lisa, Alexandria, Beckley. No father listed.
The accusations fly as Mr. Allen says he's asked for DNA tests, but Ms. Beckley calls it a lie. Their back-and-forth blame game turns chaotic until Judge Lake steps in. Her sharp remarks bring both sides to a halt.
She denied me the DNA test not once but twice. That's what gave me further doubt. For the fact that the way she told me that she was pregnant was too fast. The baby went full term, April 1st. The baby was due March 11th.
I didn't go full term. I had her at 36 weeks. My due date was at April 1st. I had her at March 11th, emergency C-section. She was not full term.
Judge Lake interrupts to call out the dysfunction, warning that their behavior harms Idale. She urges them to prioritize their child over their arguments. Her blunt words are a wake-up call for everyone in the room.
Because I'm starting to understand what's going on here. Arguing and dysfunction and yelling, and you all do this well. And this little girl is the one suffering because she's a year old with no father.
I would just like to say, as a man, I have been really struggling.
Judge Lake advises Mr. Allen to focus on his current kids before having more. She emphasizes that being a good dad means quality over quantity. Her tough love hits hard, especially when his fiancée steps in with new revelations.
But you can turn off making babies.
Yeah, you're right, Your Honor.
No, this is where you gotta be honest. No, stop talking. This is real.
Yes.
You seem like an upstanding young man.
Most definitely,
and you
Your
seem
Honor.
like you have good intentions.
Yes.
I'm not gonna feel sorry for once you knew there was a potential that Miss Beckley's baby was yours.
Mr. Allen's fiancée, Cheyenne Montgomery, claims a neighbor heard Ms. Beckley name someone else as the dad. Ms. Beckley denies it, and their heated exchange feels like a soap opera. Just when it seems like it couldn't get wilder, the DNA results come in.
Say, Your Honor, she has told Darius that he was not the father. It's been said that she's told another guy he was the father.
Okay, y'all got proof of that, and y'all fiancés where the ring at? You
Judge,
have no
I'm not
business.
talking
That's
to
why
you.
you're here.
You speak with
because you
focus,
worried
don't
about.
speak
Was
to
you
me.
in the bed when me and him when we had her?
Let's get some order. Take a breath. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Allen, you are the father.
Told you. You too, fiancé.
Okay, buckle up because this is one wild ride. Judge Lake opens the case of Webb versus Forrest, and it's already juicy. Mr. Webb thinks he's the dad of Ms. Forrest's baby, even though she's married. Her husband is here to prove otherwise, and things are about to get messy. It's like watching a soap opera, but you can't change the channel.
You have been waiting 2 years for this day. You claim the defendant, Mrs. Forrest, left you for dead only to find out once you got out of a coma that she was pregnant and that the baby could be yours, her husband. You and your husband are here today desperate to put an end to this drama. You say you have no doubt your daughter's biological father is indeed your husband.
Things heat up fast when Mr. Webb says he'll fight for full custody if the baby's his. Ms. Forrest claps back saying, "Not a chance," and suddenly it feels like a courtroom version of a WWE match. The audience leans in because you just know this is going to get even crazier.
My intentions are to fight for custody rights if she is my daughter.
Well, that's my daughter, and you ain't getting her.
My husband got in some trouble, and I ended up meeting Mr. Webb through one of my friends. We hit it off, and then I ended up leaving Mr. Forrest for Mr. Webb.
So you began a sexual relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
And were you using protection at the time?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Now here's where it gets awkward. Ms. Forrest admits she started dating Mr. Webb after her husband got in trouble. She also spills that they didn't use protection. Oops, Mr. Webb says he had no idea she was seeing anyone else. And suddenly, you realize this love triangle has more twists than a pretzel.
It didn't happen like that at first. Yes, we was in love. I was on life support.
No, that's not how it
And
happened.
As soon as I got out the hospital, I had got a phone call saying that she was pregnant. I heard it from my aunt first. She had called me and told me that it was a possibility that Elena was my child.
Get ready for some wild accusations. Mr. Webb says Ms. Forrest was acting shady, with missing money and disappearing after work. Ms. Forrest denies it all, but the details don't exactly paint her as innocent. At this point, it's clear Trust was not invited to this relationship party.
She was working at the time. Some of her check would be coming up missing every time she would get paid.
No.
She would get off at 10 o'clock. It would take at least 15 minutes to get home, but she would come in at 11 to 11:30.
It took about 45 minutes to get from where I was
So
working.
it was missing time and missing money.
Yes, Your
Where
Honor.
she was MIA.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
This part is bananas. Mr. Webb says he was literally on life support when he found out Ms. Forrest might be pregnant with his kid. Imagine waking up from a coma to that news. Talk about a plot twist. The timeline doesn't add up though, and now it feels like everyone's playing a game of who's the daddy.
That is a statement from my mom, and he was there the very next morning in a motel with her.
We were already broke up. We've done called it quits. We done
And
called
me
it
and,
everything.
well, after they done broke up like 3 days before he ever went to the hospital.
He's in the bed on life support, and now you have reconciled with your husband.
Yes, Your Honor, but I tried to see him. His mother would not let me see him.
And now we're doing math. Ms. Forrest says she figured out the conception window and was only with her husband then. But wait, Mr. Webb drops a bomb. They were together right before he went to the hospital. Judge Lake looks like she's solving a Sudoku puzzle as she connects all these messy dots.
My daughter was born on May 9th of 2013. And then you take it back 9 months later, that takes it to the week of August 26th through August 31st.
You were sleeping with your...
Just my husband.
The thing about it, Your Honor, is the day that before I went on to life support, we did have sex.
What day did you go into the
I
hospital?
went into the hospital on August 26, 2012.
Hold up, it gets worse. Mr. Webb says he found out about the baby from his aunt, not even from Ms. Forrest. She says she told his family on Facebook, which doesn't sound like the best way to share baby news. The audience can't decide who's right, but everyone agrees this is the most awkward family drama ever.
The reason I have not been there, Your Honor, I had got an email on Facebook from my aunt that Miss Forrest had Elena.
So you got news that the baby was born. You didn't hear from Miss Forrest herself.
No, Your Honor, not at first.
I messaged his mother on Facebook and told her what hospital I was going to be at, where I was going to be, when I was going to the hospital and everything. Him or his family, nobody showed up.
Ms. Forrest admits she blocked Mr. Webb from seeing the baby because she was scared he'd take her away. Judge Lake is like, wait, what? And asks why she'd do that if she thought he might be the dad. The excuses keep coming, but honestly, it feels like we're watching someone dig a deeper hole for themselves.
Elena is 2 years old, and you have still not held this baby?
I'm afraid that if he does get to see my daughter, that he can run off with her, and
But she's
there's
done
nothing
threatened
I
her.
can do to get
So
her back.
you, Miss Forrest, that you've been blocking Mr. Webb from seeing
Yes.
Elena after you initially informed his family where she's going to be born.
Here comes the moment we've all been waiting for.
It has been determined by this court that her biological father is Mr. Webb.
This case is starting off bananas. Miss Kavanaugh is back in court after 2 guys were ruled out as her baby's dad. Now she's accusing her mom's friend, Mr. Spence, of being the father, and the audience is gasping like it's a soap opera plot twist. Buckle up. This drama's only getting messier.
Ms. Kavanaugh, you appeared in our courtroom previously and tested 2 men as potential fathers of your 1-month-old son, Malcolm. Unfortunately, neither turned out to be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You believe Malcolm's biological father is a good friend of your mother's, the defendant, Mr. Spence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Kavanaugh drops the tea. She purposely tried to seduce her mom's friend by dressing provocatively and asking for rides. Oh, and she was drinking like a fish the whole time. The crowd's reactions, pure Thanksgiving dinner-level shock. But wait, Mr. Spence's version of events adds even more chaos.
I started calling him up asking for like rides, to the grocery store, to get stuff from my house. And subconsciously, I was trying to try to seduce him. I was wearing inappropriate things around him. In all honesty, I was drinking a lot. I don't know if I did it for a challenge or because I was wanting attention. It was just...
Mr. Spence admits he initially said no way, but after awkward encounters, he caved. Once, he claims. Miss Kavanaugh, however, insists it was twice. The court is struggling to untangle this mess, but it's about to get wilder when Mom drops her own bombshell.
It was like she said. Came over a couple of times. She was in inappropriate gear. The first time, I shunned it off. Second time, I said, hey, watch yourself. Third time, it's starting to look good. Fourth time, lapse in judgment, and here we are today.
Wow. So how many times were you intimate with her?
One.
Just once?
Mom steps in with her wild side of the story. She suspected something was up between her daughter and Mr. Spence, but got denied until Miss Kavanaugh finally confessed. Mom's upset, but staying strong for her grandson. Just when things seem at their peak, another potential dad enters the picture.
Actually, when we were together, all in the same room, I noticed them looking at each other a little differently. So I questioned each of them. They each denied that anything had happened. Then basically how I found out, one day Megan was angry at me and we had kind of a little tiff or whatever. It was kind of a big tiff, but when we did, she blurted out, "You were right. And I did sleep with Ken."
Really?
Enter Mr. Scott, the new maybe dad. He says they used protection, except for one drunken slip-up. Miss Kavanaugh thinks that's when it happened, but Mr. Scott disagrees. The court calls for a DNA test, and Judge Lake is ready to drop some hard truths.
We understand that you had a sexual relationship with Miss Kavanaugh.
Yes, ma'am.
You were not using protection.
I use protection every time. I don't recall, not using protection.
So you don't recall. Now she says there was an instance when you did not, and you say there was no instance?
I strongly, I don't believe that, Malcolm is mine.
You don't?
I don't.
Judge Lake delivers a reality check, urging Miss Kavanaugh to stop drinking, get her life together, and be a good mom. Miss Kavanaugh admits her mistakes and promises to lean on her family. But the DNA results? They're about to blow everything up.
You know you can't drink your problems away.
Yes, I found
And you
that
see
out.
that.
It creates
because
more problems.
You didn't drink any problems away. You just created more problems.
A lot.
And since you are a mother to a brand new innocent baby, this court's going to require, no matter what the result is, that you get some counseling, you get some help as it relates to that drinking.
Yes,
you understand? Mr. Scott, you are not his father.
Wow, this case is already messy. Mr. Threlkeld wants to know if Liliana is his child after his wife cheated while he was deployed. Things are heating up fast with Facebook drama just around the corner.
You have entered this courtroom with a marriage on the brink of divorce. You state that while you were out of the country serving in the military, your wife, and she has admitted cheating multiple times. You claim you are not sure if you are the father of her 3rd child, teen-month-old Liliana, and have asked the court for paternity test.
Imagine being at war and finding out your wife is stripping back home. A soldier tipped him off, but he thought it was a joke until Facebook confirmed otherwise. Then the base got attacked, and he couldn't check the messages for weeks.
A soldier of mine came up to me and tapped me on the boot and said, "Hey, I need to go outside. We need to talk right now." Earlier on in the day, me and him got into some words, so I thought we were gonna, settle it. Well, it turns out his wife and my wife were friends. She had found out that she was actually stripping as we spoke. The internet lounge got on Facebook and asked her, "Hey, is it true you're doing what I told you I didn't want you doing at all?"
Once the internet was back, he found messages proving her infidelity. His wife admitted to indiscretions, claiming they were already over. It's a digital soap opera, and the fallout is just beginning.
What? Your husband's overseas, serving his country, keeping us all safe. What in the world
It's an app.
led you to entertain these type of messages on your Facebook?
First of all, we were done. We were not together. We had a phone conversation. He had said, we're gonna get a divorce and I'll send you the divorce papers. And then we hung up. And let me finish.
Coming home from war to no welcome, heartbreaking. Mr. Threlkeld stood alone with his bags while his wife blamed a mix-up and waited in the car. The chaos didn't stop there. It was about to get even messier.
The day I was supposed to come back home from overseas, we were told before we even got on the plane, I get there and not my father, my mother, my wife weren't even there. You know, they call everybody's names up, everybody's clapping and cheering, they come to my name and it's just dead quiet. No one was there. So as everybody's getting ready to go home, I didn't even have a phone yet, so I couldn't even call her. I'm sitting there under a street light.
No, I was waiting in the car for 30 minutes.
Your Honor,
he never showed up.
Wait.
He called his wife's affair partner, who casually admitted to the relationship. Mrs. Threlkeld laughed it off, saying the guy was lying. Awkward doesn't even cover it, and the next step in their drama involves a questionable pregnancy plan.
You know, I was wondering who, because I saw the guy, she hadn't fully admitted that she's been seeing this guy. So I snatched the phone from her and I started going through it. And as I was looking through it, there was a number that she'd called like 13 times. So I called him right back. And he answers the phone, hey, you know, I said, who is this? Are you the one that's been my wife? He said, yes, I've been. And now her defense, she starts laughing, saying, I'm just gonna say that. He's just saying that to make you mad. And it was ridiculous.
In a wild attempt to fix their marriage, Mr. Threlkeld thought having a baby would help, but now he's not even sure if Liliana is his child. This plan was doomed from the start, and the revelations just keep coming.
When I was overseas and I found out about her stripping and her cheating, when I got back home within those first week or two, we had sex like 4 or 5 times a day.
That if I get my wife pregnant, she'll stop stripping.
Kind of like how she just said, I'm gonna strip and I'm gonna do whatever I want because that's what I'm gonna do. I said, oh really? Okay, I'll give you a 9-month break on me. I mean, so.
Yeah, but apparently people still want me.
Mrs. Threlkeld admitted to cheating with multiple people, including a family friend she mistook for her husband. She accused Mr. Threlkeld of being controlling and abusive. It's a train wreck you can't look away from.
There was a friend of mine that we've been friends with for a couple years. When I went to AT, I think it was either annual training or drill, she was watching TV next to this one guy and she started falling asleep, and next thing you know, he rolled over on her and she thought it was
Your
me.
Honor,
mistaken identity.
I guess. He's about this tall and ugly.
It comes down to the point where I did make a mistake, yes.
Mr. Threlkeld, you are Liana's father.
This story starts wild and only gets wilder. Judge Lake introduces the case of Robinson versus Long, where Miss Robinson accuses her mom, Ms. Harms, of lying about her real dad. Ms. Harms insists Mr. Long is the father, but Robinson isn't convinced. It's a family mystery that's only getting messier.
Ms. Robinson, you're back in court today because you say your mother, Ms. Harms, has continued to commit paternity fraud. She's now claiming her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Long, is your biological father, but you believe she's lying. You say your daughter's suit has no merit, and today you will prove Mr. Long is her father.
Drama explodes as Miss Robinson recalls discovering Mr. Moore isn't her dad, despite her mom's claims. Ms. Harms' confidence crumbles under the truth, and the tension is palpable. It's like a soap opera in real life, and the drama is just getting started.
I hope he is my daddy. I really do. Because I really need a dad. I really, really do. I've always told her who her dad was. It's not Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore, you are not her father.
Oh my God. Dude, who is my daddy? I can tell you, he ain't your dad. But no, I'm lying. So let's go get the other one and come right back here and do this again. I'll tell you.
Miss Robinson accuses her mom of giving her random names for her dad, while Ms. Harms sticks to her story that Mr. Long is the one. Their heated exchange is like a ping-pong match, and neither is backing down. The argument is about to go nuclear.
Your Honor, I feel that my mother has been committing paternity fraud my whole life. I've never got a straight answer on who my father is. 2 or 3 guys, no certain name. I'm too old for this. Excuse me, Your Honor, that's a lie. I've always told her who her father was. Mom, you never told me who my father was. My mom kept secret. Gave me names of I've always told you from birth, sweetheart.
Miss Robinson shares the pain of growing up without knowing her dad, feeling left out at school events. She says she's worked hard to be there for her kids in ways she never had. Her mom's defenses fall flat against Robinson's raw honesty. It's a heart-wrenching moment.
Me in school, doing sports, basketball, softball, never nobody showing up to my game, sitting there, all my friends got parents there, I have nobody. I had a baby at 18 and one at 20. It has not been a day that I have not been there for my children, 1,000%, not 100. And I know who their fathers is because I wasn't promiscuous. I was with those,
excuse
that's
me.
it.
I'm not gonna sit there and let her say that about me. I'm not cheesy like that.
Things heat up as Miss Robinson blames her mom for her struggles, while Ms. Harms insists she did her best. Judge Lake steps in to calm the chaos and refocus on resolving their issues. The drama is irresistible, and Mr. Long's testimony is next.
That's your fault, though.
No, it ain't. She get mad at me. She won't let me see my granddaughter's or my great-grandson.
You never let me see my daddy, though. I never saw my grandparents. I didn't even hear about him until I was 10.
What, you act like you couldn't have went? I told you always knew who you was.
Where was I gonna go at 10 years old?
I would knock on Mr. Long's door.
He would have thought me
take
dead.
her over there every time we went, every summer.
Mr. Long finally speaks, revealing he'd been told he might be the father, but had doubts due to family drama. Ms. Harms accuses him of lying, claiming she brought the baby to his house. The back and forth feels like a wild family reunion.
So why does a woman send you a picture of a baby if she's not saying you the father?
Right, she didn't say I wasn't the father. She said I was the father, but I had doubt because, she was supposed to be sleeping with someone else in my family, which was a cousin.
Supposedly. Family.
And then some more guys in the neighborhood. So that's where the doubt came in.
Does state that what you said was true. He did receive a picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Robinson recalls learning about Mr. Long when she was 10 in the most unceremonious way. Her mom casually mentioned it, adding to years of conflicting stories. It's the moment that sets the stage for the final revelations.
I'd never heard of Mr. Long until I was 10 years old. I walked past her in the kitchen. She looked at my body and she stopped me. She said, "Jennifer, I gotta tell you something. I gotta tell you that when I was younger, I went to Marietta, Georgia, and I slept with a boy named Anthony Long." He said, "Your body looked like theirs. You look like his sister." Of course, I blew that off because I look like him, and him.
The DNA results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Long, you are her father.
Ms. Jackson brings her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Brown, to court to prove he's the dad of her 26-year-old daughter, Tanika. She's had enough of him denying it, blaming a messy love triangle with his wife as the reason. Oh, and by the way, she's also asking for $20,624.08 in child support.
You've dragged your ex-boyfriend to court to prove he fathered your 26-year-old daughter, Tanika. You claim he's denied her since birth because you were caught in a love triangle with him and his wife. 1 week ago, you reopened your child support case in which you state Mr. Brown owes you $20,624.08.
That's Your Honor.
Ms. Jackson spills the tea about meeting Mr. Brown at a club where he told her he was single and ready to mingle. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Things hit the fan when his wife, Ms. Brown, caught them together. And let's just say it wasn't a friendly meet and greet.
I met him at the club and we started talking, we started dancing. He told me he'll be back. When he left with his wife, Miss Brown. I asked him who she was. He told me if she was just a friend. So he came back to the club. We danced, we partied, and then we went to the apartment.
Is that an apartment?
It was an apartment, Your Honor.
Whose apartment?
It was their apartment.
Ms. Jackson remembers the awkward moment Ms. Brown walked in on her and Mr. Brown in an apartment. She thought she was the only one, but surprise, Ms. Brown wasn't out of the picture. This whole mess kicked off years of back and forth fights.
She left, and then later on, we were still in the apartment. I didn't know that he was dating her because he told me they had broke up.
Having sex, unprotected.
Yes.
You say Ms. Brown walks in.
That was my apartment, Your Honor.
No, I didn't.
So Ms. Brown, what happened?
Me and the wife was having problems. It was much later when I caught her in the house with him.
Ms. Brown explains how she walked into her house, heard the closet door sliding open, and found Ms. Jackson hiding inside, naked. The closet moment is peak chaos and proof that this triangle is more like a tangled up knot.
After that, this was some months later, when I got to my apartment, I unlocked the door with the key. So at that point, I had a sliding walk-in closet. I heard my closet door slide open. When I got inside, I went right to the closet, opened the door. She standing up there naked, had my man in my house.
Mr. Brown owns up to being with both women at the same time and not using protection with either. He's basically saying, yeah, I'm messy, and I know it. But then he throws shade, saying he doubted Ms. Jackson was faithful.
Were you sleeping with both of them without protection?
Yes.
So why do you deny that Tanika is your daughter if you know you've been with this woman over a span of time?
I've seen too many things happen. Like one morning, I thought she was at work. Come to find out, she was out with another man.
Ms. Brown swears the timing of Tanika's birth doesn't match Mr. Brown's whereabouts, saying he was with her, not Ms. Jackson, when the baby was conceived. She even accuses Ms. Jackson of dodging DNA tests for years to avoid the truth.
During the time she got pregnant with this girl, he was in Jacksonville with me. He told me he hadn't been home in 2 months, Your Honor.
Yes, Honor.
He was with me.
Back and forth.
Your Honor.
Okay, no, I was in Albany, Georgia. I was staying
And
with
during
my
that
mother's
time, Your Honor, when
he'll
she
come to Georgia on Friday, and he'll leave that Friday evening and go and back to Jacksonville to her.
A birth certificate naming Mr. Brown as Tanika's father is revealed, but Ms. Brown claims it's fake news. She's 100% sure the signature isn't her husband's and basically calls it a scam. Now everyone's squinting at the document, trying to figure out who's telling the truth.
I have proof that Mr. Brown signed my birth certificate.
That's a birth certificate that's a fake, Your Honor. That is a fraud. Her mama been lying to her, and she's sitting here and believing her.
No.
So wait, on this birth
He
certificate,
named-
it does say Dwight Stanley Brown.
He named
didn't
me
sign
and
that.
he spelled the name.
You want to tell
Spelled
that
my
birth
name and named me.
This
Now, I
second
do
birth
not
certificate.
see a signature on this birth
Because
certificate,
he did not
though.
sign it.
I didn't sign.
The DNA test results are in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brown, you are her father.
Jesus.